Welcome back or welcome to my channel. This is Midnight Paradise ASMR. Now, in this video, we will be doing something a little more unique. Now, you're probably wondering how could that be so unique when this looks like a standard deck of playing cards. There are a couple of reasons why it's not your standard. A is themed after Yellowstone National Park. The backs of the cards look like this. But also, the cards themselves on the faces not only have imagery of things you would find or fun little things from the past of National Park, but also little fun facts on each card. So instead of doing a typical card game, I'm going to be reading the fun little facts on each card. Now, Yellowstone National Park is one of the biggest parks in the world, I would imagine. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't really know, but it's definitely the biggest wildlife park in the United States. It is located in Wyoming and in part of Montana. I was there this past summer 2024, on a vacation, and that's how I acquired said playing cards. Let's open these, shall we? And I apologize if the camera begins to be a little shaky. It is leaning against me. Alright. Now, I don't remember if I featured these in a previous video or not. It's been that long. But here's the backs. Like I said, matches this. And, here's the fronts. They all got imagery and, like I said, fun little facts. Makes it a little more special. Now, you're gonna run into cards that look awfully similar to each other. Each thing on here has two facts. And so, let's just say the Yellowstone bison herd. You're gonna see a second card on here, same imagery, but it's gonna have a different fact about it. But let's get started. I'm gonna read all of these, so sit back and relax. So I'm gonna do this because there's so many cards. Let's just do this like this, shall we? Yellowstone National Park. It's the Jack. And then it says Yellowstone bison herd. The Yellowstone herd is divided into two sub-herds. They are the Northern Range herd and the Central Interior herd. So I guess I saw these guys up close. So close you can almost touch it. So you got this one. And then the next one. I think this is in no particular order because of the way they came out. Anyways, you've got grizzly bear. The Greater Yellowstone ecosystem in northwest Montana are the only areas of south of Canada that still maintain large grizzly bear populations. Next, we have wolves. It is thought that there are currently 11 packs or 108 wolves residing in Yellowstone Park. Now these cards, I'm not sure when they were manufactured. Oh, it says 2018. So that's been a few years between these cards and when I visited. So there may be more, maybe less. I don't know. The information, I don't know, is updated or not up to date. Anyways, you got moose. I did see these guys up by the road. There's a few of them. Not all together, of course, but moose. There are close to 800 moose living in the southern part of Yellowstone in the Grand Teton National Park. There was one moose that I saw. It was an adult male. He was in water, just eating away at some leaves on a tree, and the female moose was nearby, just kind of buried, but she was eating away too. It was hard to see her. I think she was a little shy. Now this one was elk. As the most abundant large mammal found in the park, they are a large food source for wolves, bears, and mountain lions. A little bit sad. Now, if you see me pull it up here, it's more so I can read this better because the print's a little small. If you can't read it, I apologize. But here we go. Here's the next one. You get a bobcat. Only 50 bobcats. Only 50 bobcat sightings in the park have been reported since the 1940s. Seems to me there's not that many. But I don't know. You got the bald eagle. Historically, over half of the eagle population in the park have nests in the Yellowstone Lake area. And you got coyote, also known as song dogs. These intelligent animals communicate via long-range vocalization. They are most often heard howling during dawn and dusk. And then next you have bighorn sheep. The biggest concentration of bighorn sheep in Yellowstone is Mount Everts. And you got trumpeter swan. As North America's largest wild waterfowl, this swan has a wingspan up to 8 feet. That is pretty big. And of course you have Ulysses S. Grant. Grant was called the father of national parks by Theodore Roosevelt. Next we have Grand Prismatic Spring. The microbial mats around the edges of the water are what give the spring its grand color. And some of the colors are red and orange, while in the winter the mats are dark green. So I saw these in person too. Not as impressive, but I think it's because it was starting to get dark at the time that I saw these. Anyways, the Yellowstone Fall is also something I saw. This was so beautiful, by the way. So, when the Yellowstone River leaves Hayden Valley, it goes over the upper falls. Then it flows down 308 feet over the lower falls and enters the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. And you have Hayden Valley. With an area of 50 square miles, it is easy to see why this habitat is frequented by wildlife such as buffalo, grizzly, coyote, and elk. And you got, I think it's pronounced Silix, Silix spring fountain paint pots. The spring overflows most of the year, creating an environment that attracts flies, mites, spiders, and birds. Old Faithful Inn. The inn was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1987 and is located next to the Old Faithful Geyser. No, I actually stepped foot in there, I believe. I didn't actually stay there, but it was just something I crossed through. And here we go. We have Mammoth Hot Springs. Over thousands of years, the hot water flowing from the springs cooled and left behind calcium carbonate, and the Mammoth Hot Springs complex was created. And you have Norris Geyser Basin. The tallest geyser in this basin is the Steamboat Geyser, which erupts over 300 feet into the air. That is pretty high up. Now here's something a little neat. The Roosevelt Arch. During the arch construction, President Roosevelt was visiting the park and placed the cornerstone of the arch, which covers a time capsule. I wonder if anyone's ever dug it up or thought about it. Black Dragon Cauldron. I think I said that right. The black color of the cauldron is due to iron sulfides in the area, and the quote-unquote rotten egg smell is attributed to the hydrogen sulfide rising from the spring. Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. I did go see this, which is in connection to the waterfall. Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. Exposure to the elements have caused the rocks to change color, giving the canyon a rusted look, and many of the yellow hues are a result of the iron in the rock. I can imagine that's probably why they call it Yellowstone. Then we got historic tours. The buses returned to Yellowstone in 2007 by way of 8 refurbished units that were put back into service. Today you can let someone else drive while you enjoy an interpretive tour of the park. Not what am I reading? Lone Star Geyser. Originally named Solitary Geyser by the Hayden Geological Survey of 1872, this geyser erupts up to 40 feet high. That's still pretty tall, but definitely nowhere near as tall as the 301. I wonder why they changed the name. Interesting. And we have Old Faithful. Reliably, an eruption occurs every 45 to 125 minutes, shooting water up to 185 feet. It's pretty tall too. Definitely one of the bigger eruptions. Now I did capture this on video. It was pretty interesting. Had to sit for a little bit, but it was fine. Okay. We got the Yellowstone Experience. The paved roads in the park provide close access to geothermal areas as well as the local wildlife. This one is a picture of President Roosevelt and Old Faithful in 1937. By 1915, automobiles were entering the park and increasing the visitorship. Thousands of automobiles each year were conflicting with the horse-drawn transportation in the park. You see, told you I was going to repeat. Here's another bison herd information, but this is the last one. The bison herd in the park is one of the oldest and largest in the United States. Let's see, it's repeating pictures but different information. Another grizzly bear one, with approximately 150 bears with home ranges in the park. They are best viewed at dawn and dusk and hidden in Lamar valleys. This one has got wolves. 41 wild wolves from Canada and northwest Montana were released in the park from 1995 through 1997 in an effort to reintroduce a wolf population to Yellowstone. Go back to the moose. As the largest member of the deer family, the moose in Yellowstone can be seen in Willow Park between Norris Junction and Mammoth Hot Springs. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention I saw some elk too in a weird random place. I saw this in a ranch. And the funny thing is the ranchers didn't own them, they were wild. But that's a story for another time. Anyways, we got some more elk information. During the summer months, 6 to 7 elk herds populate the park, around 10,000 to 20,000 elk. However, during the winter, there are only around 5,000 elk still in the park, most choosing to migrate south for a warmer climate. Yeah, bobcat. Because of the bobcat's solitary nature and nocturnal activity, it is one of the park's most elusive residents. Well, that answers my question from earlier. We got the bald eagle. Because eagles may use the same nest year after year, they traditionally occupy the areas near major rivers and lakes in the park. Makes sense. Coyote. Living in groups up to 7, the coyote is often mistaken for a wolf, even though they are about 1/3 the size. That's a big difference. We have the bighorn sheep again. Around 10 through 13 bands of bighorn sheep live in the terrain of Yellowstone in the northern part of the park. Got the trumpeter swan. There are currently less than 30 trumpeter swans that make the park home. I think that's Greb Lake was installed in 2011 with hopes to increase swan productivity in the park. Like I said, I don't know if it's Grebe or Greb. Correct me, please. But that's kind of sad. There's only 30. But if you go there expecting to see swan, you're less likely to see that. Another Ulysses S. Grant. Grant signed into law the country's first national park, Yellowstone, in 1872. Grand Prismatic Spring. Located in the Midway Geyser Basin, the hot spring discharges 560 gallons of water per minute. That's a lot. Here's another Yellowstone Falls. The falls consist of Upper Yellowstone Falls and the Lower Yellowstone Falls, flowing through the Yellowstone River from Yellowstone Lake. How many times can you say Yellowstone? Alright. Hayden Valley. The valley is located between Yellowstone Falls and Yellowstone Lake and is considered to be the best location to view wildlife in the park. Silex Spring Fountain Paint Pots. Located in the Lower Geyser Basin alongside the fountain paint pots, hot water escapes to the surface through the spring. Old Faithful Inn. Built in 1904, this historic inn is not only the largest log hotel in the world, but one of the first park lodges of the American West. This information is pretty cool. I still have several cards left. I hope you find this information neat like I do. Mammoth Hot Springs. Water traveling underground from North Geyser Basin feeds this hot spring. Speaking about that, North Geyser Basin. Located near the northwest edge of the park, this geyser basin consists of 3 areas: Porcelain Basin, Back Basin, and 100 Springs Plain. Got the Roosevelt Arch again. Since 1903, this arch has greeted visitors to Yellowstone at the north entrance, which at the time was the first major entrance to the park. That's a pretty cool entrance though, not gonna lie. And then you have Black Dragon Cauldron. Located in the Mud Volcano area, this thermal feature didn't exist before the winter of 1947 through 48. Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. This large canyon of the Yellowstone River is 24 miles long and between 800 and 1,200 feet deep. You have historic tours. From 1930s to mid-1960s, the yellow buses of Yellowstone National Park provided tours and sightseeing transportation for its visitors. And I think I should have read this one first because the other one was saying that they brought them back in 2007 or something like that. Oh well. Lone Star Geyser. Located 3 miles southeast of Old Faithful, this geyser erupts every 3 hours and lasts about 30 minutes. 30 minutes is a long time. How many cards do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have 5 more cards left. And they're kind of out of order, but who cares? We got Old Faithful. Named in 1870 by Henry D. Washburn, this geyser was the first in the park to receive a name. Interesting. I mean, all of this information is interesting. Don't get me wrong, but some's more interesting than others. Alright, the Yellowstone Experience. From 1920 to the 1960s, park managers allowed visitors to feed black bears along park roads. During this time, the black bear became the symbol of the park for many people until they stopped doing that. Alright, we got Franklin, basically the same thing. President Roosevelt at Old Faithful in 1937. Between 1933 and 1942, the Civilian Conservation Corps built the majority of the early visitor center, campgrounds, and park roads. Okay, so the last 2, these are the Joker ones. So this one says Park Superintendent Horace Albright. Feeding of quote-unquote tame black bears became a popular tourist attraction for the park during its early years. Now, feeding of any animal in the park is prohibited for the safety of both the animals and visitors. That's kind of what I was hinting at earlier from the previous card or 2. And last but not least, the very last Joker card. The last one says Park Superintendent Horace Albright. Albright was the superintendent of the park from 1919 through 1929 until he left for the role director of the National Park Service. Now he was only there for 10 years. Interesting. But I think that's like a real picture of him actually. But these pictures are quite neat. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. And I will see you all the next time. Bye.